When we talk about growing old, we often speak about physical aches, about sickness, about loneliness. But there's a pain that cuts deeper than any back pain or stiff joint. It's the pain of begging for love that should flow to you naturally. It's the heartbreak of walking into your grown children's home, hoping for warmth and respect, but leaving with a quiet ache in your chest instead. If you've ever sat alone in your living room after a visit that drained you more than it filled you, you know exactly what I'm talking about. And I want to tell you this, from one heart to another, don't beg for love in old age. You've given enough. Now, it's time to live with dignity. Think back for a moment. Remember the years when your children were small. Every day, your hands were full, feeding them, dressing them, calming their fevers, wiping their tears. You stayed up at night worrying about the future, about school fees, about the home that needed fixing, about your aging parents too. You carried so much, and yet you rarely complained. Because that's what love does. It carries the load without keeping score. And when you look back, there's pride in that. But there's also a truth that stings. You sacrificed so much of yourself for them, and now that you need them, not for money, not for favors, but just for presence, they are too busy to give you what you once gave so freely. I remember a man I met once, Mr. Gerald. He's 82 now. He told me how every Friday for years, he'd drive an hour to his daughter's house. He'd bring fresh vegetables from his garden. He'd fix small things around her home. He loved just hearing his granddaughter talk about school, even if she barely looked up from her phone. And he'd sit there quietly while his daughter and her husband argued about work, about bills, about things he didn't fully understand anymore. He told me, "Sometimes I feel like a ghost in that house. I bring them what I can, I offer advice, but they nod, half listen, then look through me like I'm not there." And when he drives home at night, he wonders why he bothers. But the next Friday, he still goes. He still hopes. This is what so many older parents do. They show up over and over again, hoping this time will be different, hoping they'll get a proper thank you, a tight hug, a real conversation, but they end up leaving feeling smaller than before. And let me say this clearly, it's not that your children are bad people. Life moves fast now. Bills have to be paid. Children have to be driven to practice. Work never really stops. And sometimes, your children simply don't know how to slow down long enough to really see you, the way they once did when they were young, and you were the strongest person they knew. But here's what you must understand. Modern life rewards speed, efficiency, ambition. Old age is none of those things. You move slower. You think deeper. You carry stories that take time to tell. You ask questions they don't have the patience to answer. And you hope for moments that they don't feel they can spare. That is why so many older parents become like furniture in their children's homes. Present, useful maybe, but mostly unnoticed. If you are not careful, you will start to believe you deserve to sit in that corner quietly, to feel like a burden. But you do not. What does it mean to not beg for love? It means you stop showing up with your soul in your hands, hoping someone else will fill you up. You stop visiting out of guilt, out of duty, or out of fear of being forgotten. You go only when you are whole, when you know you're not there to take scraps of affection, but to share your presence with pride. That shift is powerful, but it's not easy. Because for decades, your children were your purpose. They were your joy, your reason to get up in the morning. And now, if you do not protect yourself, you will spend the last years of your life chasing moments that drain you. Respect in old age is not something you demand with anger. You don't walk in shouting, "Respect me," because that will never work. Respect comes from the quiet dignity you hold inside yourself. It comes from your boundaries. You must decide that your time is sacred too, that your voice has weight, that your stories are worth listening to. But they don't need to be forced on people who won't listen. And when you feel that deep disappointment, when your children forget your birthday or cancel plans, or look at you with eyes that say, "I don't have time for this today," you must not crumble. You must not beg. You must stand up quietly and take your love and your presence back to a place where it is honored. That place might be your own living room, or a community center where you share tea and laughter with people who remember your name. It might be an old friend you haven't called in years. It might be your garden, your church, your book club, your volunteer group. It might be a new friend, much younger, who sits with you, eager to learn from your life. You must build that life for yourself, not wait for your children to build it for you. I know this sounds harsh. We all dream of family dinners every Sunday, of our children gathered around us asking for advice, of grandchildren running up to us with drawings and hugs. And when life doesn't look like that, it feels like a betrayal. But hear me, this is not your fault. You did your part. You bent your back, you gave your strength, you opened your wallet, your heart, your entire being for decades. And now, your children are not your only hope for love and connection. You must not let them be. I knew a woman named Alice who decided to stop begging. She loved her daughter deeply, but every visit ended the same. She'd sit at the kitchen table alone while her daughter rushed around complaining about work, the kids fighting, the phone buzzing every few minutes. Alice realized she'd leave every visit feeling like an afterthought. So she stopped going every week. She joined a seniors group instead. She learned to paint. She invited neighbors over for tea. A year later, her daughter noticed the distance. "Mom, you don't come by as often." "Why?" And Alice said, "Because I want to spend time where I feel loved, not just tolerated." Her daughter didn't like hearing that at first, but it opened a door. Things changed, not overnight, but they did. Because Alice chose to honor her own worth first. You see, you are not just a mother, a father, a grandparent waiting to be needed. You are the root that gave life to those branches. If they forget that, life will remind them, because they too will grow old. They too will feel the ache of being left behind in someone's busy life. And when that day comes, they may finally remember how you stood your ground, how you chose solitude over humiliation, how you chose to live fully, even when they were too busy to see you. Never underestimate the power of your quiet strength. You don't need to shout to be respected. You don't need to lecture or guilt trip your children. You simply need to stand in your truth. Visit when you want to. Stay when you feel seen. Leave when you feel like a shadow. Do not keep showing up at a table where your worth is forgotten. You are not here to beg for scraps of affection. You are here to live these final chapters on your own terms. So if you find yourself sitting by the window, wondering if they'll call, if they'll remember you, ask yourself, where can I be right now where I am truly loved? Who can I share my time with? What part of myself can I pour into something new? Maybe it's a garden you've always wanted to plant. Maybe it's a neighbor who is just as lonely as you. Maybe it's a child in your neighborhood who needs a grandparent figure. Or maybe it's simply your own company, the peace that comes when you learn to enjoy your own silence. Don't let your final years be defined by disappointment. Let them be defined by the love you choose to keep inside you, not the love you chase after like a beggar. Your value is carved by the storms you've survived, the lessons you've learned, the nights you spent awake so someone else could sleep soundly. That does not disappear just because your children forget to look you in the eye. One day, when they're older, when life slows down for them too, they may come back to you. And if they do, open your arms wide. Give your warmth freely, but not your self-worth. Let them see you not as someone desperate for attention, but as someone who lived with quiet pride, who stood firm when it would have been easier to crumble. So to you, sitting there with that ache in your chest, I say this: don't beg for love in old age. Live in a way that commands it. Speak softly, but hold your head high. Find your own people, your own moments, your own joy. If they come around, welcome them. If they don't, keep living. Because the greatest tragedy is not growing old alone. It's growing old begging for love you already carry inside your own strong, beautiful heart. If these words touch something deep inside you, I hope you remember, you are enough. You always were. And you don't need to beg to prove it to anyone, not anymore.